in 2010, we were sitting at a far better place than we are in 2022 and 23. And 2000 perhaps, we were sitting at a better place than 2010, 1990. So progressively, we have not only added to the basket of problems that we had, we have in fact taken nothing out.
At the World Economic Forum on India today, Pakistan's Deputy Foreign Minister Hina Rabbani spoke of the need to have statesmen in India and Pakistan to take this relationship forward. She said Prime Ministers like Dr. Manmohan Singh and Atal Bihari Vajpayee, in her opinion, were statesmen in India. In her opinion, the relationship between India and Pakistan was better in the 1990s compared to the decade of 2000, and then in the decade of 2000 compared to 2010, and in 2010 compared to 2020. This time, she feels, you have Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in her view, not a statesman, in her view, someone who bombed Balakot the first time after 1971 that fighter jets crossed the international border, and according to her, it was to win elections in India. Let's test some of these contentions and points made by Hina Rabbani. She says that the relationship between India and Pakistan, good in the 1990s. What was happening in the 1990s? That was the time that Pakistan ISI was spreading terror in India. Phase 1 Punjab, Phase 2 Jammu and Kashmir. So the era where she says the relationship was good, Kashmiri Hindus were thrown out of Jammu and Kashmir. And not in thousands, but in lakhs. There were mosque loudspeakers that were being used to chant slogans against Hindus. That was the ground reality of Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror in Jammu and Kashmir in 1990s. And then that decade was good, she says. Well, it was for Pakistan because in 1993, the worst terror attack on Indian soil, Mumbai, 1993 serial blast, Dawood Ibrahim Kaskar, used by Pakistan's ISI, 257 innocent Indians were killed, 700 injured in the 1993 Mumbai serial blast. Now, these terrorists, they would travel from India to the Middle East, from Middle East to Pakistan, learn how to make improvised explosive devices there, get back to the Middle East and come back to India. All of this well documented in court verdicts. The improvised explosive device, the RDX, the weapons, the explosives, all of them came from Pakistan, duly recorded in court verdicts. Well, according to Pakistan, that was a great decade. Did it end there? Let's come to 1999. The statesman that Hina Rabbani refers to, Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, he traveled to Lahore in a bus. He was a statesman. He extended a hand of friendship to Pakistan. And what happened in 1999? Pakistan army infiltrated on the Kargil heights. 530 brave Indians were killed to restore those Kargil heights in 1999. 530 Indians were lost. She says the decade of 2000s was better. What was happening in that decade? Well, immediately after the Kargil war, the statesman that Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee was, he wanted to improve relationship with Pakistan despite that Kargil war. And that's the time, remember, that Indian Air Force fighter jets, despite that conflict in Kargil, did not cross the line of control. They bombed Pakistan on our side, in the sense, Pakistani who were holding Indian heights at that point of time. They bombed them. They did not go across the line of control. Vajpayee was a statesman, no doubt. December 1999, IC-814 was hijacked. That Maulana of terror, Masood Azhar, he had to be released. Where? In Afghanistan. The same Afghanistan that's currently killing Pakistan. But that's a separate story. We'll leave it for another day. So IC-814 was hijacked. But then Vajpayee was a statesman and India wanted to improve relationship with Pakistan. Pakistan again sent in terrorists, and what was targeted? The temple of Indian democracy in the year 2001. Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorist organizations attacked the temple of Indian Parliament. And India and Pakistan came almost on the brink of war. That war didn't happen. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was a statesman. A military dictator, Pervez Musharraf, India gave him legitimacy, and as president of Pakistan, gave him Tri-Services Guard of Honor. He was invited to Agra for an Agra summit. So a military dictator who'd usurped power in Pakistan, who'd killed 500, who was responsible for the killing of 530 innocent Indian soldiers, he was given legitimacy, made a dictator, and accepted first by India and then by the rest of the world. Of course, 9/11 happened. It's a different story what happened subsequently. But then that was a good decade for Pakistan, because terror attacks in India continued, even though Musharraf told Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee when he travelled to Pakistan again that Pakistani soil will not be used for terror against India. 2004, Vajpayee lost elections and another statesman came to power, and that was Dr. Manmohan Singh, truly a statesman. Again, somebody who wanted to improve relationship with Pakistan, and that was a very good thought. But then remember 2006, Pakistani terror once again struck India, and not one, not two, not three, 200 Indians were killed in serial blasts in Mumbai. Mumbai trains were targeted by Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror, whether it was Lashkar-e-Taiba or Indian Mujahideen, them working together on instructions of the ISI. 200 Indians died. But India wanted to improve relationship with Pakistan, so you continued to play cricket, you invited their singers to your country, you invited their actors to your film industry, and the relationship continued despite 200 Indians being killed in Mumbai, despite 500 Indians being killed in Kargil, despite 257 Indians being killed in Mumbai in 1993. No accountability. So Pakistan said, great decade, let's continue with this. And then terrorists once again struck, this time in Gujarat. 57 people were killed. There was a certain chief minister in Gujarat in 2008 called Narendra Modi, and the Gujarat police started a massive crackdown against the Indian Mujahideen whose top leadership working with Lashkar-e-Taiba, some of them were also living in Pakistan. But that's another story, and I'll tell you that story about the crackdown on Indian Mujahideen. For the moment, let me come back to that decade. The decade that Hina Rabbani Khar says was very good. So you had terror attacks in 2006, 200 people dead. Then you had 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. Remember, we remember that in our collective conscience, because India saw 166 people being massacred by 10 Pakistani terrorists, and there was ample evidence of Pakistan's involvement. In fact, Pakistan's Federal Investigation Agency, under intense pressure, carried out its own investigation, and FIA found out that not just Ajmal Amir Kasab, but the other 9 were all Pakistanis trained at Thatta, Sindh by Pakistan Navy. David Coleman Headley was arrested. I covered his trial in Chicago. Ample evidence of involvement of retired ISI officers serving in Pakistan Navy officers who trained them in operating boats, all of that. Ample evidence. Did Pakistan take any action for 26/11? So Hina Rabbani Khar may claim that Hafiz Saeed is in jail, but is Hafiz Saeed in jail convicted on charges of 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks? No. He's been convicted on some sham charges of terror financing. What terror financing? Nobody knows. And why has he been convicted? Because of the Financial Action Task Force pressure on Pakistan. Not because Pakistan has turned into a new leaf. But that was, Dr. Manmohan Singh was a good man. The Indian Air Force suggested, let's go and bomb Pakistan, let's teach Pakistan a lesson. But the statesman that Hina Rabbani Khar is looking for, the statesman wanted better relationship with Pakistan. Did Pakistan state-sponsored terror stop? No. The Indian embassy in Afghanistan was targeted. There were other terror attacks that took place in India and on Indian interests in Afghanistan. And then cricket diplomacy continued, relationship between the two countries continued. Let's now cut to 2014. Remember, Pakistan still has not taken any action against the perpetrators of 26/11. But then 90s was a great decade for Pakistan. 2000s was good. 2010 very good, because even after 26/11, India's seeking action against perpetrators of terror, but Pakistan is getting away with murder. Cricket continues, cinema continues, relationship continues, and terror continues. Come 2014, Narendra Modi government takes over. Now, the day Narendra Modi was being sworn in as Prime Minister of India and all the SAARC heads of state and government were in our country, Pakistani terrorists targeted the Indian consulate in Afghanistan. How do I know this? The then president of Afghanistan, Hamid Karzai, he was in India as a state guest for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's swearing in. I interviewed him and he told me Lashkar-e-Taiba based in Pakistan was responsible for that terror attack. Did Pakistan take any action against those perpetrators? Pakistan did. But then 2010 was a better decade. Let me also now take you back a little, 2010, that Hina Rabbani Khar says we were wanting to give India a most favored nation, trade relationship was moving forward. That was the time that Pakistan was sending terrorists into Kashmir. Massive stone pelting was taking place. I was covering it on Ground Zero, and Omar Abdullah, the then Chief Minister of the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir, blamed Pakistan for funding the stone pelting, for funding all the tension that was happening at that point of time, and he was then serving Chief Minister of the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi, according to Hina Rabbani Khar, not a statesman, he tried to improve relationship with Pakistan. In fact, in 2015, he went to Pakistan unannounced. He went to Lahore unannounced. Huge decision, huge, for someone who was seen as very critical of Pakistan's state-sponsored radical Islamist terror. And what happened? This was in December 2015. 2nd of January 2016, Indian Air Force base in Pathankot was attacked. Another huge decision, Pakistan's ISI was permitted to be a part of investigations, and they visited an Indian Air Force base in Pathankot. Was Masood Azhar punished? Were the perpetrators of Jaish-e-Mohammed punished? Were they punished? That was 2016. Now we're in 2023. Still not punished. And Hina Rabbani Khar says the relationship has been going south. But it has been going south because despite that, India tried to improve relationship with Pakistan by saying, people-to-people contact should continue. We must help Pakistan. We must have, regional connectivity. Now they're blaming India that there is no regional connectivity. There's no SARC. Who's holding back regional connectivity? Who's not permitting Indian trucks to cross Pakistan and go to Afghanistan and go to Central Asia and beyond? That Pakistan will not talk about because they know chor ki daadi mein tinka. But then they will not talk about it. Perhaps they may not. But facts have to emerge. Did things stop after that? And then what is Pakistan really, really upset about? Pakistan's upset that when it tried more terror attacks, for example, they targeted our Indian Army camp at Uri, then there was a surgical strike. And Pakistan, oh, what? A surgical strike? They denied it. Of course, some within our country also denied it. Then what happened? Then they attacked us in Pulwama. A convoy was attacked, 40 CRPF personnel were killed, and what hurts Hina Rabbani Khar, or what hurts the collective psyche of Pakistan, perhaps as much as their army public school, Peshawar being attacked, or other attacks taking place in Pakistan, or worse, or maybe 1971, when Pakistan was split into two. That was the time when Indian Air Force jets after Pulwama went into Balakot and bombed Balakot. And they may say, okay, that was, you destroyed some trees. No, they destroyed the psyche of Pakistan Air Force that failed to protect Pakistani airspace with a dozen Indian Air Force fighter jets, Mirage 2000s and others, crossing not just the line of control, but also bombing across the international border at Balakot. Whether trees were destroyed, or Pakistan's ego was destroyed, or Pakistan's terrorists were destroyed, the fact remains no part of Pakistan is safe from Indian Air Force once India decides, and there is nothing that Pakistan can do about it. That's also clear because the very next day, when Pakistan mounted a massive package to hit back, none of their aircraft could cross the line of control or the international border. And now with the Rafales and the beyond visual range missiles, will Pakistan even dare to launch such a big package? Well, that remains to be seen, because perhaps in the weeks and months ahead, will they even have money for fuel for their aircraft? Because Pakistan is going down the tube.
For more informative videos like this, keep watching India Today Newsmo.